All right, good evening, everyone. This is True Gossip. My name is Tanya, and I'm the host and founder of True Gossip. That's me, and we have Ramel Royal. He is the co-host of True Gossip. Say hi, Ramel.
How you guys doing? Welcome to the show. It's glad to have you all with us. This is a site that where nobody's wrong, nobody's right. It's your truth, your opinion. We collab on it, we debate it, we discuss it, and we learn from one another. So your gossip is your perception, your gossip is your truth, and that's what we are about on this page. True gossip, where opinions matters.
Yes, so this is True Gossip, where gossip meets truth. This is our first live recording here, and we want to make this thing go viral. We want to talk about things that is happening. We're trying to keep up with current events. So the topic today is the injustice in America against Black and Brown people. Today, our guest on the show is Tajuddin Shabazz. He is a brother that I've known for 20 years. He was a mentor to me when I was a correction officer out in Virginia. So this brother has a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and I wanted him to come on and be my first host because I know we can get some insight from him on why we have so much injustice in America. So, Tajuddin, if you want to go ahead and say what you want to say to introduce yourself, we wait.
hmm
We waiting for you.
Okay. First of all, first and foremost, I would like to give the universal greetings of peace. In a time that we're living in, I think that is the best greeting that we could give each other as a people. I'm not going to say hello because hell is, you can't get much lower than the hell that we've been living in since our soles of our feet have touched these shores in 1555. I'm not going to say hi because at this seems like too many people are getting high. So I want to use the greeting of peace because it sets the foundation of what we're going to build upon, the topic that we're going to build upon tonight. I thank you for inviting me. I hope I can give, first and foremost, I want to give information. I want to give some inspiration, and I want to give a little humor when I do those other, since we are rhythmic people, I want to give a little humor into what I go into. So the topic that we're going to be discussing is injustice in America for the brown and the black.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I had a question from someone that sent me something earlier today,
hmm
and the question was, why is there so much injustice against Black and Brown people? Why do we still, and I hate to say it this way, have the knee or the foot on the neck of our Black people that's keeping us from elevating? So that's basically the topic. Why can't we
hmm
elevate? Why can't we have equal justice just as um the privilege the white people in America? Go ahead, whoever else. I mean, Shabazz.
Okay. First of all, when this country was so-called established, we weren't considered as people. We were three-fifths, some say three-fifths, some say two-fifths. So that was only a few years ago that they put the amendment to try to make us American citizenships. So it's kind of difficult to try to, it's sort of like trying to get justice in a place that was not established for justice for us. How can we, if this country was founded in injustice towards us, why would we still cry for justice when the people did not consider us as
You win.
citizens or human beings? That's like saying, see, this is a situation, right? All the institutions in America has failed us as a people. The religious system, the economic system, the political system. So we've been crying since Martin Luther King and even before him, Frederick Douglass, all of these our great heroes been crying for justice. And every few years that cry still cries out. It's sort of like they have a cancer for us. So we're in stage 4 cancer, and they want to give us some chemo or a baby aspirin to try to solve a problem that has never been solved.
So why do you think that the protesting is not working? Why do you think protesting in America is not working?
Well, I think what happens with protests is that it's almost like you could do this, but you can't cross that line. I mean, it's great that we show some kind of unity at that moment when we protested. I mean, it's great. But what happens is that it just gets weakened by the days, and it's not pushed. The right buttons aren't pushed. Let's put it that way. Now, this protest has been a little bit different. This protest has not been predominantly black. I mean, yes, there's a lot of black people, yes, but we're seeing people of other races involved this time around. And I think because of that, it's actually getting a little bit more attention. And also, it's not going away as quickly as some of the other protesters have done. I think in the past, protesting probably lasts maybe 4 or 5 nights. We're going on day 8 now. And as I'm watching, the crowds are actually getting bigger and getting larger, and they're growing to the point where I'm making plans to do something on Sunday, but at the same time, if I'm making plans to do something on Sunday, we're going to be approaching 2 weeks in at that point. And here's the thing: with that being said, protesters are growing, and we having people of different races involved. If we're not getting into some kind of courtroom or some room where we can get legislature change, the only thing that we're going to do is hurt some folks economically. And I don't know, at the end of the day, will there be a difference? But has there been a difference? Yes, this is one protest that I've seen cops, police officers going with protesters. You had the sheriff in Michigan that said, you know what, we're not going to make this a protest, we're going to make this a parade. They said, walk with us, walk with us. He walked along. We've seen some police officers take a knee as if they understand. And to my brother, Kinlaw, who just got on the show, Tanya's my cousin. I just met these 2 gentlemen today, but that's Kinlaw. We had a conversation a couple of days ago, and he said something that I never gave credence to before. He said, what can help the situation is if the good police start policing the bad police.
That's right.
And if these cops or police officers and sheriffs that are coming along with the protest, taking a knee, exchanging pleasantries with the protesters, if they're going to do that, then we need them to take that same energy into the precincts.
Exactly.
And utilize it against their fellow brothers in blue.
And that's what I was going to say. Now, my thing is, they marching and they protesting and they kneeing, they bowing down and they doing all this other stuff. But like you said, they have to bring that into the precinct. They have to make sure that when they see something that is wrong, they have to say something. They just can't stand there, because just like they were saying, that they're accountable for their actions just by not even saying something, just being silent. But my thing is, will they do that? Can there be a change starting in the precincts with these police officers? We've seen marches before where white and black was locking arm in arm and walking and marching aside one another, but yet there still was no change. We've seen this it seems like a repeat of a couple of years ago. So will there really be a change, and how can there be a change? I mean, I want to make change, and that's why I came with this platform, because I figure, something got to give somewhere. And I believe the time is now, because I see more younger people going out there. They're protesting. These millennials are really doing something. They really have some knowledge. They really want change. I mean, there's a lot of interracial marriages and children, but the thing is, they still black, and they're going to be treated as black. So how are we going to make that change? Anybody?
What I would like to add on top of, in regards to the question of the protests and why, in some cases, it looks more aggressive than maybe in times before. I think people haven't mentioned yet, but we're in the era of social media. Okay, I don't think first off, it's bigger than George Floyd. See, what you gotta understand is people were shell-shocked by the Rodney King video, and that was a mistake that just so happened to get caught on video. The guys were still acquitted, but it affected the community, mostly in that Watts, California area, right? When social media comes along, you gotta understand, Philando Castile was just shot point blank within 3 seconds with a woman and a child in her car in that same location. So you gotta understand, there's a kid who's probably 15, 16 years old. Fast forward 4 years from now, they're 19 and 20. Guess what their respect is for the kids? They still haven't gotten that out their mind, and that cop was acquitted. And what you're seeing is on social media at Rapid Instant News is that cops are being acquitted, not just locally, but nationwide.
Right. That's
And
true.
it's hitting them all at the same time. So while guys like myself or Troy or you or anybody else on this thread will understand we still got to give respect to law enforcement authorities, these young kids, that respect was never there. Going back to even Trayvon Martin days. Because some of these kids were the same age then that are out here protesting now. They're saying to themselves, that could have been me. Tamar Rice was 12 years old, shot point blank for playing with a toy gun. And you're seeing these things happening over and over again to add along with the other issues that is going on right now that's affecting this entire society. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of depression. People are out of work. These kids ain't got no part-time jobs to go to. Ain't nobody got no real responsibility. So that's what they're going to put their frustrations out on what is the obvious. I mean, we haven't even digested the Ahmaud Arbery case, which people don't, I was talking to my wife just last night. She just now recognizing that these two guys that shot this man in the street were sitting at home eating dinner for 2 months. That was a closed case. There was never an arrest. And everybody's saying that no one on this thread can shoot anybody today and go home tomorrow. Neither one of us would give that benefit of doubt after the DA, 2 DAs, and the law enforcement done got involved. So I think going back to the whole protest thing, if my parents protested, if their parents protested, and we're still dealing with this now in 2020, who are they to tell us what works when we're still dealing with the same issues? So it's a tough, sad situation to get control of. But I stand by the conversation that I shared with Troy, that the police, it starts with internally within the police. I think there's a video where a young woman, a black woman of some sort, instantly got in the face of another officer who was acting aggressively towards another protester. And we got to start checking people right there on site in order to reverse the culture that's been going along where cops feel like they can do any and everything behind a badge.
I have a question. I have a question to Tajuddin. I watch these videos and I watch the protesters and I watch when people wanted to come out of COVID, because we still have this COVID-19 going on. That has not gone away,
Right.
and it's affecting the Black community. We're the ones that are dying. Ramel is my cousin. We first cousins, and we can count how many people was in the hospital, how many people died, who might had underlying conditions that caused them to die from COVID, right? So not only is injustice with the penal system is affecting the Black people, but this COVID-19 and all other type of medical issues, healthcare and stuff like that is not, is affecting us too. But my question to you is, why is it that white America can go march around and say they want to come out of quarantine and not be a stay-at-home order, and walk to the police with an AKA or whatever, guns, walk the street, yell in their face, and do all these things, and not once did they get thrown down to the ground, get arrested, or taken away? If we were to do that, you know what would happen to us. Can you give me some type of explanation? What's in your mind? Why that is so good for that's good for the white, but not good for Black and brown people?
I believe that white people can't get over the fact that they are being told what to do. They can't handle that they're not in control. When you tell them don't
Very
go
true.
out without a mask, don't do that, they're gonna do what they want to do because they're not used to being told to do. We're told we're used to that
Precisely.
because the mother said get off the corner. We're gonna get off the corner. But with them, they rebels, so they're gonna want to do what they want, what they're told not to do. And this is their country. They've made that clear that this is their country. They don't want to share. They want to do what they want to do. And again, when we protest, now we're thugs and all of this stuff, but they can do it. They go to the Capitol with weapons and all of that stuff. And like you said, they don't get shot down. But when we want to do it, oh, y'all should get over it. You should get over it. No, we shouldn't get over it. You all made this situation. We are sitting on a powder keg. See, this is my thing, right? This is how we are. It's like we're playing Monopoly, but we're not the ones that started with the $1,500. They had the rules, they had the $1,500, but we're starting with zero, and the only money that we get is when we pass go. So in order for us to win, we have to link up with the other people who are establishing their income from the $200. But see, this is the thing: we're starting behind the eight ball. So again, they can't handle the fact, like I said before,
Exactly.
they can't handle the fact that they are being told what to do, regardless of health and all of
Exactly.
that. They do what they want to do. I went into Walmart today and we had masks on. They walking around with no mask. Now I thought you couldn't even get in there without a mask, but they walking around without masks. So again, we're sitting on a powder keg here. And see, this is the thing. Things supposed to have been established, and also the cops have this thing what is called a blue code. That's the thing of where another cop can't rat on or snitch on another cop, and that code itself has to be busted up. And again, they turn off the webcams, they turn off the dash cams. So now this thing with our brother George Floyd, it was shown. It was in their face. It went viral, as they call it. You know, even the president of Iran and the leader of China even said that they're going to declare world war on racism. So, you know.
You know, I like to add on. I like to
Mhm,
add on to that, Shabazz, if I may. You
mhm,
know, your last word just summed it up:
mhm,
racism. And the
mhm,
reason why I say that is that when these people was marching in Michigan for the right to work, and they came there fully armed, and they were pretty threatening. They were supported by the president. They were actually supported by Trump.
mhm,
So my
mhm.
point is this: why is their protest allowed and ours is not? Or why is theirs looking as being productive and ours is not? And it comes down to racism. And then I want to piggyback off of what
Exactly.
Kinlaw said. He was talking about all these people that's been shot by unarmed cops. I mean, were unarmed and were shot by police officers. I came across a report that I just thought was mind-boggling and astonishing. And I want this to sink in. Maybe you came across it. They said that Michael Vick served more time in jail for killing dogs than the police officers that have shot the last
Yeah.
493
Yeah.
unarmed black people.
Yeah.
Now, let's just say there's some exaggeration to that. Let's say 50% of it is exaggeration. That's still 296 people.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Something is wrong there. And so here's the thing. Yeah, firing those 4 cops in Minneapolis on the spot. Yeah, that's a nice ring to it. But you know what? I'm like Stephen A. Smith. If you had enough evidence to fire them, you should have had enough evidence to arrest them.
Exactly.
And my thing is this: if the 3 of us or the 4 of us walk into the bank and one of y'all decide to rob it, and I happen to hold the door open, when they catch all of us, guess what? I'm an accomplice
Yes,
to
sir.
what you've done.
Yes,
And I'm not
sir.
going home. So what I saw was 3 accomplices that should have all been charged at the same time. So
Mhm.
my thing is this: yeah, something is wrong with that picture. Has it gotten a little bit better? Slightly. We do have an officer in South Carolina that shot the brother in the back. He's doing 20 years in jail. That's a change of pace.
Yeah, we get a
Okay.
few
It
of
is right
those.
there.
We don't get
South
many of those.
Carolina's been getting it right.
But the thing is this: it has to be more of it. I firmly believe that there's no deterrent in place to prevent police officers or wannabe police officers from shooting unarmed black people, because when you got a Zimmerman that walks, all right, that says a lot in its own right. When you have video coverage of other incidents where unarmed black people were killed during the process of an arrest, we need more. We need something of a deterrent that's in place for these people to say, "Oh, I better not do it because I might spend life in jail."
Okay, I have a guest here tonight, right? And he said this thing to me. He said, "Take the violence out, and we can have production." He said Martin Luther King marched without violence. That's one question. I mean, that's one thing I want to put out. What do y'all think about that statement? He said, "Take the violence out, and we can have production." Martin Luther King marched without violence. What do y'all
Well,
think about that statement?
there's been two kinds of protesters. There's been the daytime protesters that has been 100% absolutely peaceful and organized. Then you have the nighttime protesters that still has the peacefulness and the organization, but unfortunately, the opportunist comes out at that time and they do some things that's not a part of the plan. But my point is this: in front of the White House yesterday, they were peaceful, peaceful protesters of all ethnicity, all races. And
well, you know why the president did that.
but yet and still, if you want it to be peaceful, then you can't use your weight and be destructive, because all you're going to do is incite others.
Well, that was his goal, I believe. I believe his goal, because he wanted to get a photo op, you know, and I believe, like you, Ramel, that that they have been peaceful protesting or whatever, and then at night the opportunists come out because they know that, you know, the bad come out at night, you know, the freaks come out at night, as they would say, you know. But I have one other question. I have one more question, and this goes back to Rodney King. Do you believe that after Rodney King, he sued and he got all that money, and then he became a drug addict, and then he dies? You know, after he got all this money and became a drug addict or whatever, and you know, he was just out there doing all types of crazy stuff. Do you believe that that's how they perceive all of us to be? In my mind, I believe that they do. But do you think this is why these cops are not getting sentenced and getting indicted and stuff? Because going back to Rodney King, the first video where we caught cops beating this guy up and really doing damage to him, he wins the civil case. They never got indicted, but he wins a civil case. And now we have all these videos and things that are happening. We can see everything that's going on, but yet nobody's being indicted or being charged with anything. And if they are being charged, we losing the cases. So do you think it goes back to Rodney King that, you know, he won this case through the civil courts, and then he becomes a drug addict or whatever, loses all his money and do all types of crazy stuff out there in the scene, and people see it? And do you think this is what they're looking at us and saying, "Oh, we're going to be just like that. We don't deserve the justice"? I'm just asking a question.
I actually believe that it's the fabric of America. It's the actual DNA of America. It goes beyond Rodney King. Negroes didn't just start getting their behinds whooped, trying to keep it clean when Rodney King came. It was never meant for us to have any source of power whatsoever. We was always viewed as secondhand objects, not even humans. So as time progresses, you're starting to see the last great white hope. Let's keep it 100. The only reason why Trump is in office, the only reason why the GOP party turned their back on other solid candidates is to spite Barack Obama. It was beyond. It got white people so unraveled to see a man of color, of leadership, to the point where they rather go to the extreme right just to spite what the progression of America has been. And yes, to your point, either one of us can go out with a hoodie on right now and be perceived as a threat.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Even me, as a female.
if you raise your voice at a Dollar Tree, you're a threat.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And
Exactly.
and see, I learned this lesson early in life because I was one of those 6-foot kids in 7th grade. You know, so my parents had to tell me how to watch my conduct because I could have been viewed as an 18, 19-year-old kid
Right.
at 12, 13 years old. And I feel like white people in general are genuinely afraid of African Americans. It could be their own guilt because they know we pissed off about some of the things that we had here, our parents go through, our grandparents go through. So they already walking on eggshells. You see?
Well,
So yeah, go ahead.
you know what? My take on this whole thing is this. White people now feel empowered based upon the fact that they have a leader who's giving them the right to just go out and empower themselves and know and show that Black people are not above you, okay? Because randomly, white people in the past have never approached Black people in the manner that in the way that they're doing it today. White people would never step to us in a way and call us out live. Why? Because we're standing next to you? Are you kidding me? That's bull. It's coming from the top. The man from the top already has told people, well, listen, I'm replacing a Black man. We're taking back our power.
Make
Okay? Because first
America
of all,
great again.
don't have the money. The only way that they can get back at us is the money. The money. And when the white man handles their own money, you see what they do. They just run amok. But see, they would not allow a brother to tell them what to do. And they had to suck it up for 8 years. They had to suck it up for 8 years. Now,
they ain't like it.
not only that factor, just a hypothetical, and it really hurts me to say this, but could you well imagine if Barack was married to a white woman? Oh my God, this country would have they would have flipped. They would have flipped. They would have flipped. But once again, they came back in power and they said, well, you know what? We have to change everything. And this idiot here who knows nothing about politics whatsoever just ran amok. And he did what he wanted. He paid off all his boys. They took the money because they just flat out said to us, if y'all don't have the money to keep up with us, hey, step off.
I like.
Hey, let me go back to Tanya's point real. She mentioned something about certain protesters are able to go around and carry guns and still not be dealt with the same way as regular peaceful protesters of color, right? I had a spirited, it's disappointing to say, but I had a spirited conversation with a lady friend of mine the other day who I probably should have been more cautious about, but I spoke of guns and she was getting shot at from protesters in Columbia, South Carolina. She's an officer, a parole officer, but you know, she's an officer. So she was like very against the whole idea of just guns and things like that in general. The whole Second Amendment, and I'm a true believer in this, the Second Amendment was not meant for Black people to bear arms.
Right.
The Second Amendment was meant for white people to bear arms to keep the Negroes in check. Prime example, if you look at the movie Rosewood, they couldn't check the dude with the gun because he had the gun to shoot back. But they took advantage. And one thing the bully does, the bully's going to always pick on the weak. We are perceived as the weak. We are perceived as the inferior to them. You know what I'm saying? So I go to the Academy store the other day to look at a few Glocks and a few SIGs, and there's hardly any ammunition at these gun stores now. You go to any gun store, white people are buying guns right and left and all the ammunition in the world. Yet and still, I told her, and this was kind of self the argument, I said, you know what? Black people need to get back to group economics. You know, we need to understand how to control our dollar. Because even though protests did one thing, messing up the money made the real effect. The boycotts is what really messed up everything. Okay? I said, second, And she wouldn't let me get to the part about voting and, you know, getting more involved with local legislature and stuff like that. I said, second, more and more African Americans need to exercise our legal right to bear arms. We need to turn out in droves. She got upset. And I said, you know what? We need to change the narrative that a black man or a black person with a gun is a threat.
Well,
why is it that go ahead.
Well, you got to remember, they made the Second Amendment after the Black Panthers. After the Black Panthers was up there,
Exactly.
You know, they came up there with all their arms and stuff like that. And they protesting and stuff. You know, we were out there with that. We had a movement. We were doing our thing. But then, and like you said, we were a threat. So that's when the Second Amendment came in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we need to change the narrative, because you know why? These going to Romel's point, all these unarmed black men, half of them was assumed to be armed. I'll be damned. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Why keep assuming that we're armed? Let's be legalized armed citizens, and let's get the knowledge of understanding what our rights are at our locations, so therefore we can be more informed on how to deal with some of these situations. We have to change there, because it can't be what can't be accepted is that a white man could drive around with guns in his car, in his window. I was in high school where I had teammates drive with a rifle in their window, in their trucks, you know. And so it can't be where white people are the only ones responsible with guns, but then black men, you know, model citizen black men are perceived a threat with a gun. You know, I think that these churches need to get more law enforcement involved within their congregation to better inform their members on how to deal with and adjust with policing and understanding what it has to be more of a community thing to kind of bridge the gap. Policing got to police themselves. Police got to get more involved in the community, whether it be within the churches, schools, or whatever the case may be, to better inform and educate to kind of help bridge that gap. There's no trust, there's no confidence, and we're letting them know that on the national stage, on the world stage, you know? But I think we need to play the game. Group economics, exercise our Second Amendment, might become more educated, turn out to vote.
I just want to address 3 points, and I'm sure Brother Shabazz has something to say. I just want to address 3 things. Going back to Rodney King, I believe, yes, it's long before that. It's well before that. You know, for the viewers out there that may be uninformed, and this is why I don't use this word, picnic. Picnic came from back in the slavery days where they would pick, they called it go pick a N-word, because I don't like to use the word, pick the N-word, and they lynch them, string them up, while everybody else sits around and eat food. And that's where the word picnic came from. All right? So it's always been glorified to string up and kill a black man. A runaway slave that had to be killed, it was in front of everybody. I mean, literally in front of everybody. It was a gathering. It was like a bazaar, amusement park event type thing. And so what happens is that when they bomb the church in Alabama, 4 girls, that's glorified. When they're sicking dogs and water hoses on protesters during the civil rights movement, that's glorified. It's all trophy award-winning stuff. So no one is getting penalized for it. And it's true because of what I said earlier. So it goes long before Rodney King. The other thing I want to address is something that Kimmo talked about. I'm not in favor of guns. I'm being honest, and I'll tell you why I'm not in favor of guns. I think that the only people that should be allowed to carry guns are people who are licensed to carry guns. I'm not saying you can't have a gun. I'm just saying you need to be licensed. For the average Joe six-pack to just be able to have a gun because the state says you can carry, to me, that's nonsense. You know, my thing is this: if you eliminate the guns off the street, maybe we don't go through some of the stuff that we're going. But when we was kids growing up, maybe 1 out of every 30 kids had a gun. Now there's 1 out of every 30 kids that don't have a gun. Yeah, and my thing is this: guns don't help the situation, because think about this. If we're unarmed and getting murdered, what do you think it would be if we are armed? It's only going to be worse. An armed black man will incite fear. And you wouldn't be pulled over by one officer. He will follow you until at least there's 3 or 4 officers or 3 or 4 squad cars can meet you. Maybe if it takes a half a mile later, but he's not going to pull you over until he has at least 3 or 4 backup cars. So that this way, when you get out that car, just in case you are carrying, because now everybody got guns.
Well, look
They're
at
gonna.
There lies the problem.
That's why I don't agree with guns. And the other thing I want to address before you say something, Brother Carlos said, could you imagine if Barack had a white wife? Personally, if Barack had a white wife, he probably perceived a lot different. The problem is that we all know, if you want the best of a man, you have a great woman at his side. Right. And that's the thing about Michelle. Michelle was positive. She was educated. She was smart.
No doubt.
She didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary, out of line. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. They was in that office for 8 years.
Not one
8 years. 8 years.
That's right.
And they were squeaky clean.
You didn't hear
no scandal.
Squeaky clean. Squeaky clean. You know, if you want the best side of me in the picture, give me a few minutes. Let me go grab my wife. That's what it was with Barack and Michelle. So that was a threat. A smart, educated woman who fought back with smarts and education. That was a threat.
Okay.
Right.
So I just want to, Carlos, do you have anything that you want to add to the last of these statements or anything like that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We heard a lot from Ken Law. He had a lot to input tonight. But Tajuddin, we haven't heard that much from you. And the guy that we had on to put forth your knowledge and your wisdom, we want to hear a little bit more from you right now. So to sum it all up, sum us up for tonight when we get ready to close.
Okay. I'm gonna add on to what everybody else had said. Like our brother Ramel said, that we got to take it back before. If we know the history, even before the picnics, the police were formed. They derived from the slave catchers. That's where they came from. When you had the Scottish and the Irish, they became slave catchers to prove they're worthy amongst the other colonialists. So that's where it came from. So the police haven't been our friend for a long time, if ever. So that's where it all started from. And then as we go, as the history proceeded, they have never been on our side. So again, like I said, we're trying to get justice from an unjust system that has never been on our side. And even though some get indicted and convicted, the majority get away with it. Right. So the youth, this is my thing, is the scripture says, old men for counsel, young men for war. The youth aren't trying to hear all of that. We shall overcome, and it's all, we will all get along, all this. They're not trying to hear that. So those of us with knowledge and wisdom and some wisdom with us, we have to give them that guidance to point them in the right direction, because they don't have no fear. That whole thing that the Negroes had in the 60s of fearing, they don't have it in them nowadays. These ones don't care. They in the cops' faces, when before we was getting hosed down. They're not trying to hear that. And like I said, the brother said about the guns, if we're going to have guns, we have to have responsibility with the guns. And with most of us having felonies out there, that eliminates most of people getting guns. So now you're going to be, if you use it, you got 5 years off the bat for having an unregistered gun and possession of weapon after being convicted. So again, we got to put aside all these petty differences, religion, all of this stuff, and put our best spokesmen ahead. And we got to go not asking for rights, but demanding it. And again, those people have to back those people in leadership. We don't need people just turn there. We're going to hold hands and love everybody. Our core move should be black first. If you can help, that's fine. But our agenda should be black first. And there was something else I wanted to say. Again, put aside the petty differences and go to a common cause and come with a legit agenda. Like Malcolm said, if you stab me in my back 9 inches and you pull it out 6, That's a little progress, but the damn knife is still in our back. So again, that's the point. The law enforcement is against us. So again, we're going to have to force them to change or get rid of the whole system and start a new one. You know?
Do I got 2 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. There's another area that I want to touch on, and we didn't really touch on it. And I want to talk about Congress. You know, when do these people retire? You got people that's been in the Congress and the Senate for 50 years or more. I mean, God bless her. Nancy Pelosi's 80 years old. Biden is running and he's like 78 years old. Trump is already 74 years old. You got judges in there that don't retire, they die with the position. My point is, I'm bringing this up to say this, is that when you have elected officials that are able to be in place for 40 plus years, their ideas that they walked in with are never gonna change.
No.
So what happens is that until we are able to elect and install somebody of some youth, whether they're 25 years old or 30 years old, but if we can get some new blood in there, some younger blood to mix along with some of the veterans, because let's face it, every other job, they're already giving you a notice at 60. You know that time is coming.
They want you to retire.
And they might even have you train your replacement. So my point is this: why is it for that field? I mean, you look at somebody like Kennedy. What's his name? Ted Kennedy. He just recently died there 5 years ago. I mean, God bless him. He wants to make a difference and stay in there. But at some point, we need some young blood, some young ideas, some young presidents.
The Democratic Party, they came in with racial diversity. We got young, we got old, we got Indian, we got black, we have African. I mean, we have a diversity in there. But the thing about it is, are they going to make a change? Is it going to be a difference? Are things going to happen for us, black and brown people? And that's what we were talking about today. We were talking about the injustice in America against black and brown people. How can we make a change? How can, this injustice stop? Is marching and rioting, and is that going to make a change? And then I was listening to George Floyd's brother today, and he was telling everybody, I think it was yesterday, he was like telling everybody, he doesn't want the riot. He said to make a change is to get out and vote. So I want to hold this discussion for next time. Will our vote make a difference in the black and brown community? By us getting out there voting, will it make a difference? Will it make a change? Will you see a difference in the United States of America, where it was built on the backs of black and brown people from Africa, where we were stolen from? So I want to know, will voting make a change for us? Yes, good. You get all your facts, I'll let you vote. All right, guys. So I want to thank all my guests that came out today: Tajani Shabazz, Ramel, and Ken Law. We had Carlos on the line, and I want to thank all you guys for the input and discussing this. And I hope that we can get back on the line again with more people and talk about this and get this out there so other people's voice can be heard, because maybe it will make a change. Maybe something can happen if they see us talking about it and how it's hurting us. So that's tonight's episode, Injustice in America, Black and Brown People. Again, I want to thank you all, and I'm going to see y'all next time, and I will give you the time and date, and I hope y'all will join us. This is True Gossip with Tanya Colinen and my cousin Ramel. And guess what? What are we, Ramel? We are what? First cousins.
First cousins. First cousins. Hey, peace and blessing. No step is too small. No step is too small. Just make a step.
Right. Hey, pass on. We need to exchange information also. Y'all can get my number from Tanya. Call me anytime and we can crack some atoms. Hey, y'all have a blessed night and be safe.
Peace and blessings.
Peace, guys. Thank you.